Welcome everyone to round 2 of June 25th Star Wars Unlimited Local Night over at Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. If you guys are looking for a place to play some Star Wars Unlimited, check out Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. Thursday nights, 6 p.m., $5 entry. And this is our last second round in the Law format. And for the second round, we have Han JTL Red, me winning round number 1 against an interesting take on Dedra Yellow. Now, Dedra right now is very heavily in the control package, playing very heavily with Colossus, and pretty much a very strong contender for the Ash format because, wow, Control got some really good cards coming into the Ash format with Pre-Vizsla and Ninth Sister now. So there's going to be some very interesting things to see how Dedra Control or Dedra Colossus Control plays in this upcoming format. Definitely, we expect to probably see it at the Galactic Championship 100%. But this is a different take. This is an aggro Dedra build. This is all just about aggro for Dedra. It's not about control or anything like that. This is about Dedra beating you into the face with aggro. Very, very strange take on Dedra, who I always thought was more of a control leader, not an aggro leader. Anyways, Dedra on her front side says, action, pay 1, tap him. Tapper, you may then target a unit on your opponent's board. They may either take 2 damage to that unit, or you get to draw a card. She flips on 4, and she gets raid 4 if you control more cards in your hand than your opponent does. So the kind of gimmick for Dedra, especially Dedra Colossus, is that you're going to target your opponent's stuff with Dedra, force your opponent to either take the 2 damage or allow you to draw, and then if they allow you to draw, you're going to dig a little bit deeper into your deck for what you need. And then you basically just play control from there. You basically use every good control card right now in Premier to control your opponent's board state and win from there. Basically stripping them out of resources and things to do to the point where they can't really do anything, with the chance that you may or may not flip Dedra to swing for at least 2 damage. Because I think she's a 2-5 on her backside or a 2-4. She's not very powerful at all. Again, she only gets raid 2 if you control more cards in your hand than your opponent. But nonetheless, this is going to be an interesting take. We have 2 aggro strategies going up against each other. So without further ado, let's get into game number 1. Here we go for game number 1. I did, of course, take the initiative here. We're going to start off with a Y-Wing, and my opponent is going to start off with a Stormcaller, and then I'm going to then immediately decide to take the initiative from there, and then my opponent is going to put out a, I don't remember the card. It's the mono black card, of course, from Law. I don't memorize every single card in the game, folks. So anyways, then I'm going to tap for a 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐘 to reveal the top 2, aggressive negotiations, and of course a Ebon Hawk there, so that I can, of course, grab them both to my hand. My opponent is just kind of deciding what they want to do here. They're going to look like they're going to tap 1. It looks like we may be going for another one of the first order units. Anyways, I'm going to go for a Han to get a Light Maker. Now, one thing very important about this Han, that if you've played enough of it, then you know exactly what you need to do, as we're going to go for Battle Fury. Every time a unit attacks, it gets discard a card from your hand, so we're going to get rid of Screeching TIE Fighter, and then we're going to take 2 damage from, of course, the villainy unit. So the Storm Raider does get raid 1 into it, so it does swing for 6 damage each time, and that Battle Fury does require you to discard 1. Not that this aggro Dedra is really caring. So anyways, we're going to go for, of course, Never Tell Me the Odds, discard the top 3 cards, and for each odd cost you may deal a damage to a unit. So we're going to have just enough odd cost cards to be able to kill the Stormcaller, so I don't have to take that 6 to the face every single turn. So then we're just going to flip the Han Solo here, and then reveal it is going to be a 5, so we're going to be able to use the Han Solo effect. Again, I have to reveal the top card of my deck before I swing at the unit so I can get the +1. Anyways, we have another Storm Raider, then we have the Dedra. The Dedra is a 2-5. Dedra is going to be able to plot out Battle Fury, and Dedra is going to be able to swing for 5 damage. Right now, you can just see the nature of a hyper aggro Dedra 100%. I mean, I'm already down to 17, and my opponent's taken 6 damage. Not that it helps that 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐘 and my Y-Wing have only dealt 3 damage twice. 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐘's a +1/+2, and the Y-Wing's a 1/3. This is why I'm quite happy to have the new Z95 Headhunter card from Ash. It's a 1-drop 2/2. I'm very glad to now have that I can put over this Y-Wing. So anyways, we're going to go for Han. Han, unfortunately, is going to, on a is going to show a 1, so that does mean that my Y-Wing is only going to be able to do 2 damage. The Storm Raider is going to swing as long for Dedra, and then it's just going to be those 2, and there's really nothing else I can really do here. I can flip Han Solo, and that'd be just about it. So we're going to flip Han onto the Falcon, but that's really not going to be much. To just restand my resources here, I am going to restand first and then plot second. Typically, like I said, what I like to do is plot first and then restand, but unfortunately I did have to pay to get the Falcon out there. And my opponent is just going to swing again and swing again. And then we're just going to be able to get the guy that restands by damaging a unit that is 3 cost or less, giving it 1 damage, it gets to restand itself. So you could restand the Storm Raider and the 2 mono villain units, and that's pretty much this game right there. I got aggro beat down before I could even do anything. I mean, yeah, that's what this deck can do. Now, I did not forget my mention. There is a way to stop odd cost Han, and it's called easily just disturb my fighters. Keep me out of space, disturb my fighters so I can't do anything with them, and then basically, just like most JTL leaders, if you can keep them off space, you can basically screw them over. So with that said, we move into game number 2. Here we go, folks, for game number 2. Apologies for the heavy out of focusing for my camera. This time it's not glare. My camera just does not want to focus. Anyways, we're going to go for the A-Wing here with the Raid 1 attached to it, so allowing me to swing for, of course, the Raid 1 allowing me to swing for 2 damage. I'm going to go for the Y-Wing. My opponent is going to go for the First Order unit and then a First Order Stormtrooper as well here. So hopefully my camera will figure out how to refocus here. I'm just kind of deciding what exactly I want. Both me and my opponent are deciding on what we want to resource for turn number 3, as my camera has now officially come back. So my opponent was deciding. So anyways, I'm going to go for the Han, the Solo under the A-Wing, and then I'm going to swing the A-Wing, and then I'm going to deal 4 damage at my opponent here. Again, the Han immediately attacks, so I cannot use Han's effects on the A-Wing to buff it up in any specific way or anything like that. So nothing much I can do about that. Again, my opponent's now deciding on what they want to do here. So they're going to swing to 2 damage and then 1 indirect damage. I'm going to go for odd cost Han, and then odd cost Han is going to be able to show Never Tell Me the Odds to immediately be able to buff my Y-Wing up by 2, and then we're going to go down for a Mare and discard a card from your hand and deal 2 damage to a unit on your opponent's board state. Here, it does not care for where that unit exists at all. So there is one thing, and you see right now my opponent's hand is the Stygian Prime there. So anyways, I went for the Han, but unfortunately I did hit a 1, so that does mean the A-Wing is only going to be able to do 4 damage because there's not much else they could do here. And unfortunately that Stygian Prime there is sitting there pretty nicely. So anyways, my opponent is going to swing in for the First Order Stormtrooper, then I'm going to do 1 indirect damage onto the A-Wing there, then I'm going to play the 𝐿 and then I'm going to get hit with the First Order unit, and then we're going to have a flip of Dedra. I'm going to have to claim the initiative. There's not much else I can do in this board state here. And then we're going to have Dedra. Dedra is just going to attack, just deciding I only have 2 cards, so my opponent does get the Raid 2 onto the Dedra there, so they are capable of going from there, as well as then we have the Mare, and then we're going to go for, oh no, a Stygian on my 𝐿𝐵. Now, while it's not great, because the 𝐿𝐵 is a named unit, so if I get another 𝐿𝐵, I could just get going from there. We do have, of course, then the Marin triggering to then do discarding out a Screeching TIE Fighter to then do 2 damage and killing off my Y-Wing. Not great. To immediately have that killed off, because that would have been a great thing to have flip odd cost Han onto. A little bit of an oversight on my hand there with putting the indirect damage. Anyways, we're going to go for flipping a Crackshot V-Wing, and then we're going to have the Han Solo Han Solo on the A-Wing be able to attack there, but not getting the buff here. Then I'm going to have put 1 on the 𝐿𝐵 here, and then I'm going to go for 𝐿𝐵 again, so we can just get rid of that Stygian off of the 𝐿𝐵 here. Again, the indirect damage came from the First Order Stormtrooper, which does indirect damage on attack and when defeated. So anyways, I'm going to flip odd cost Han on there. That way I can keep myself protected from the Stygian and all of that. So anyways, I did, of course, go for the restand first, and then went for the plot here and all of that. So anyways, my opponent is going to take the initiative from there and then pass on that one. Again, Stygian Prime cannot target leader units with its effect. Now again, it can easily go on to anything else. Anyways, then we're going to go for resting down my 𝐿𝐵 here with whatever unit got played out there into of course the into the glare, and I did have to discard 1 card there. Oh, it was an interrogation droid, sorry. Anyways, I'm going to go for Han Solo. Han Solo is going to be able to kill off the first order unit there, immediately killing it off with, of course, its ambush. It does naturally have ambush, by the way. It's a 4/5 with ambush if played for 5 on the ground. Otherwise, you can play it for 2 and put it onto a ship as an upgrade. Again, very nice ability there. Anyways, we're going to have 2 damage coming in for the first order stormtrooper. I am going to go for putting the indirect damage onto the Han Solo here, and I'm going to swing in with the A-Wing. I'm slowly getting more damage there. The Dedra is going to be able to still keep its rate here because my opponent has way more cards in hand than I do it at all times right now, so not much that they could do for that one. Not mentioning they still have the Marin that can discard a card to do 2 damage to a unit on the board state. It's very interesting that Marin can just go after both space and ground. She doesn't really care for either. She just go right after them both if need be. Not too bad of a card effect here. We're going to go for Hotshot Maneuver. Hotshot Maneuver to you attack with a unit, and then for each on its attack trigger, you deal 2 damage to a unit. So anyways, we're going to do 2 damage, of course, to the A-Wing from the on-attack trigger of Hotshot, and then we're going to have the Marin swing, and then we're going to have another pitch of a card there to immediately remove the A-Wing, and then we're going to have the Marin kill over the Han Solo, and then from there, we are going to then move on to the next round here. I mean, am I in a good position here right now? Not really, as my opponent also dropped a 0 onto the ground, which also isn't really great, because as long as they have red, red, black, they can showcase that. They can immediately go for that. They can immediately target a unit on my board. So I either take 2 damage or I have to discard a card out of my hand. But this game is pretty much going to be wrapped up right now with, of course, the 𝐒𝐴vnhawk going for aggressive negotiations, allowing me to swing for a whole bunch of damage, and that is pretty much it. Once again, like I just said in round number 1, why we have not had aggressive negotiations banned when this card can just simply win games there in and there. I don't know, because in this point, if I didn't have aggressive negotiations, my opponent would have won the game. Because I had aggressive negotiations, I won the game. So it does kind of feel kind of swingy. Yes, it's good in this context because I get to win the game before my opponent beats me in the face for a game, but again, it's not really all that great. It's not a great card, especially when almost every single deck is playing it in aspect and out of aspect to win games. So with that said, we got to go into the all-important game number 3. Here we go, folks. Game number 3, the best words you ever will hear in a TCG. Here we go for everything, and unfortunately, can't remember if my hand is all that great. Here's my opponent is going to finish up the resourcing here. Anyways, we're going to go for a Y-Wing. I guess it's not all that bad. Right now, from the look of it, my hand's not all that great with the Bowshack, aggressive negotiations, and an R2-D2. So I'm going to put an R2-D2 under that. And then we're going to go for, of course, the Storm Raider. My opponent did decide to use the Dedra to target the Y-Wing, attempting to hit it for 2 damage to the face or draw a card. I did decide to get them have the draw. Anyways, we're going to go for Bowshack. Bowshack is going to show me an AT Hauler and then never tell me the odds. Not the best thing to have an AT Hauler out on this Dedra, as we're going to go for an interrogation droid here, and then I'm going to discard the AT Hauler, because again, in my thought processing and all of that, I really don't know if it's really worth putting out the AT Hauler, especially in a deck that does have the ability to do ping chip damage. Here's my opponent is going to put out an A-Wing. The interrogation droid did, of course, come down on the ground there. And of course, then I did get hit in the face with the the Storm Raider for 3. So the one problem is this Y-Wing doesn't have really much, and the problem is I really don't have a lot of stuff to do with Han here, as I'm just kind of deciding on what I actually want to put away. I did put away an A-Wing, and I think then I make a pretty big mistake here of not keeping that A-Wing in hand, just so I have another fighter here, is the Y-Wing is going to be able to swing with an extra +1 because of Han showcasing the Sudden Ferocity here. And then I'm going to immediately be able to take the damage there, and then take a bunch of damage here. Again, I took claim initiative after playing the Millennium Falcon, so we had the Storm Raider, the interrogation droid, and Dedra. And then my opponent is immediately going to put on a Stygian onto that, so I immediately have to take a big fat 2 damage, and that Millennium Falcon can never restand until I get another Millennium Falcon to my hand. Again, what my opponent is doing is very common. It's just literally control the board state. We're going to go for the Punishing one is going to be able to kill off the interrogation droid with its on-play skill, and then I'm going to flip odd cost Han to swing with the Y-Wing for an extra +1 attack here. Again, it's not looking all that great on my side of the board, especially because every turn I take 2 damage to my face because of the Shadow of Stygian. And then my opponent's going to put out another Shadow of Stygian because it is not unique. It is non-unique here. And the problem is I can't just flip Han onto either of these because it's pointless. They're both Stygian, and I'm now struggling to do anything. This is why I said when I put the A-Wing away, I fully regretted not having another fighter. So anyways, I'm just going to flip Han onto the ground here, and then I'm going to get hit in the face with 3 for the Stormcaller. And then as you can see, there's just nothing I can really do. I'm already all the way up to 22. I'm then going to take a whole bunch more damage here, and basically that's pretty much game. With me taking 4 damage to my face off of each of these Stygians, there's just nothing I can do here at all. I have to deal with the A-Wing and all of that. So, I mean, there's just nothing I can do here. Those Stygians basically were the ones that killed me in the end. So, a very interesting take on aggro. Dedra Yellow gets the win over my Han, JTL Red. It didn't help that I think in game number 3, resourcing the A-Wing instead of playing the A-Wing, I think really did hurt me. Because if I had played the A-Wing, I would have actually had a ship to flip Han over. My opponent was saying the best what they were doing, they were choking me on ships I could flip onto. They wanted me to flip Han onto the ground so that he's pointless and useless, and then forced me to have to play things very, very differently if I had no ships to play on. So he basically did exactly what this deck kind of struggles into. If your opponent can control your space front, you're pretty much just dead and over. Most JTL decks are that way, from Vader to Luke to Boba to Han. All JTL leaders, even Ventress, Asajj, all have the exact same problem. You keep their space front under control, you're just dead on arrival because there's just nothing for them to flip on. There's no point for them to flip in space and then utilize their better effect of being an upgrade. So nonetheless, everybody, it was a really good aggressive back and forth game. And all of that. Again, I only got game 2 thanks to aggressive negotiations. So with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments on the decks, the gameplay, and let me know if you tried out either of these leaders in either of these coloration, and if you think how good these leaders are going to be in the Ash format. And while you guys are commenting, do make sure to hit the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you know when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Modern Dragons TCG.